Hello you guys, it's Carly from the Poetry of Nice, and I have a sort of sales video for you, but not really, not my traditional sales video anyway. So I usually show you things I have sold recently on these kind of videos, but this time I'm going to show you sales gone wrong. So I get a lot of questions about how to handle certain like customer disputes, customer issues, how to handle them in different platforms. And so I figured I would just show you some of my fails, basically things that have gone wrong, whether through my own issue or something else. And then I'll let you know how I resolved it, basically, and hopefully that will help someone out there. So I'm going to start with eBay and this little guy right here. Now I will say that the person this is actually sold to at this point, touch wood, everything seems to be fine. We'll see. But I had a lot of issues with him beforehand, so I'm going to tell you the tale of that. Basically, I had listed him for the $230 that you see here, and almost immediately I got an offer through of $30, which, but unfortunately, it had a message with it that was sort of saying along the lines of like, you know, this is only a snowman, like it's not worth anything, you should take my offer. It didn't come across as a very nice message, basically. It definitely seemed kind of like they were trying to coerce me. And looking at their profile, they collect singing toys or animatronics, so I know that they know what this is worth. And so basically I got this very real feeling that they were trying to pull one over on me. So in that particular scenario, I'm within my rights to block that buyer, and that is exactly what I did. I declined their sale, I blocked them. At this point in the game, 7 years into reselling, I just have very thin patience for things like that. I'm not one to like write back and all that kind of stuff, but I am one to simply block and move on. So that is what I did. And then the messages began. I started getting a lot of different messages from them offering me increasing amounts of money for this snowman, and then asking me why I wouldn't sell to them. And at one point I did write back very, very politely and just explain to them, you know, I did receive your earlier offer with the message attached, and basically I don't feel comfortable. I was very, very polite, but basically I don't feel comfortable moving forward with the sale at this point. There's plenty more listed online, which there were plenty more listed online. You know, good luck in finding one that suits you. Done. And then they started creating new accounts to buy the snowman over and over again. So at this point, I get eBay involved, just kind of like back me up and check that everything is okay with me moving forward with cancelling those sales, because quite frankly, at this point, I am not comfortable selling to this person. They were very apologetic, I have to say, not that it's their fault. And they actually use certain words like harassment and things like that, because of course they can see all of that correspondence, right? So they can see the amount that person has been contacted, and they can see that they have created different accounts, or they've actually had other people purchase for them, but it's all going to the same name and the same address. They can see all these things. So I report each and every one of these accounts that pops up, but really, unfortunately, there's nothing they can do in this scenario. So what I ended up doing is taking him down and keeping him down for a while. They gave me the advice of adjusting the title, basically just like when I relisted him or sell similar, just adjusting the placement of the words and things like that, so it wasn't exactly the same in case that person was looking for that exact same title to pop back up, which I did. And I actually kept him down for about a month to a month and a half before relisting him, which I have to say as a seller is incredibly frustrating, because you have something, especially a higher value item, and you want to get it listed and sold. But that was their advice. That's what I decided to do, and eventually it has sold to, I don't think, the same person. There's nothing about it that seems familiar. Anyway, he's gone now, so hopefully it's fine. He's been on his way. I sent him out the other week. But yeah, this was a different one for me. In all my years of reselling, this isn't something that has happened in terms of like the frequency and the repetitiveness of it, and especially having eBay sort of, you know, I don't know, they weren't very happy with it either, I have to say. One particular woman that I spoke to was just like appalled that it was continuing and all this correspondence was going through. But even when you block a person, you still get their correspondence, and that's just kind of the way it goes, unfortunately. But all's well that ends well, hopefully. And just to let you know about, you know, the changing of the title and perhaps like pulling your item and let the dust settle, which isn't ideal. But at least I know that eBay had documented everything. So those cancellations that I was doing, it was all documented as being absolutely fine, basically to cancel, and no dings against me. Okay. Poshmark, this glass basket bowl. So I will say that when you list something that is a breakable on Poshmark, you will get a pop-up before you can publish it, and it will tell you basically that we don't stand behind breakables. This is Poshmark, and you are responsible 100% for making sure it gets there in one piece. This did not get there in one piece. I will say I wrapped the heck out of it. It was boxed, it was bubble wrapped multiple times, packing peanuts, packing material, all the good stuff, couldn't move an inch. The only thing that went in my favor, I will say the resolution of this, the buyer, when she got it, she said the handle had broken off, sent photos through a case opened on Poshmark. And I will say that the only thing that helped us both to get reimbursed from Poshmark is that she sort of anecdotally told the story through the case of her on her doorbell camera. She had watched her USPS delivery person, basically, she described, treat it like a football, twisting it around, like turning it in the air, the way they were carrying it. She said she actually heard it hit the ground, and that's what made her go look outside to see if a package had been delivered. It was handled so roughly. And she actually took still images from the footage as well that sort of corroborated her story. And I think just having that very tangible evidence there is why Poshmark ruled in the favor of both of us. But I wanted to share this with you because that's not going to happen every time. And so when it comes to breakables, I would suggest obviously packing the heck out of them, but otherwise maybe save those for a different platform because Poshmark isn't really going to stand behind you too much on that. And I understand that. All right, these shoes, Allegria shoes. So when I first bought these, I thought I checked the heck out of them. And I sent them on the way when somebody bought them, obviously. And as soon as she received them, she opened a case and said that the soles had split in half, to which, I'm going to be really honest here, I thought, no, they didn't. Which, isn't that the way that so many of us go immediately to the like scammer alert? However, here's my tip, and this is what I do before I respond to anything. I go back through my photographs to begin with, because this is my evidence, right? This is what I have. And if you look right here where my mouse is, lo and behold, there is a giant crack that I missed. So thank goodness I managed to check that before I responded to that case and couldn't take back something that would have sounded quite bratty, since it was in fact my fault. And that's the wonderful thing about having these photographs and stuff, is that you do have them as a reference point, not only if you have done something wrong, so you know how to correct it for that buyer, but also, quite frankly, if you haven't. I've had people return things before, just like a lot of us kind of suspect, where they've said there's something wrong that isn't wrong in order to get like a free return or something. It does happen. It's infrequent, but it happens from time to time. I think that's why sometimes I leap on the defensive, even though I shouldn't. I should listen to my buyer first. But anyway, but I've had photos, so I've been able to fight those cases if I felt that it was worth the energy and say, look, I have the physical evidence here, you can see in my listing, and oftentimes I have won with that. So all that to say, make sure you take your detailed photographs of everything, especially if you have some kind of defect that you're trying to disclose to your buyer. Take that close-up photo, make sure it's pointed out and they know exactly what they're getting, so you can stand behind that listing. All right, this one is really just more of a disappointment. This is like your classic sale gone wrong as far as I'm concerned. Beautiful dress sold for $200, went all the way to Germany, and she didn't like how it fit, so she sent it back. It was so disappointing. So it's relisted. Someone will buy it again, and that's absolutely fine. It's gorgeous. It will sell eventually. But this was one of those situations where you just have to take the return. I have returns anyway on my thing for like 14 days, and she was within that time. She was lovely. She did everything appropriately, packaged it beautifully. She was really a model buyer, other than the fact that unfortunately she just wasn't happy with the item. But I wanted to throw this in here simply because this is your classic one, right? And sometimes we get tempted, I get tempted at least, when it's a very high value item. The disappointment of having to take that return can sometimes make me reach for like, well, do I have to take the return? Should I take the return? And really, yes, you know, it's in my policies. She's within her time, that she's done absolutely nothing wrong. Do you have to take that return? And I just want to follow that. That's as much for me as it is for anybody out there. But I also want to say that on Etsy, there isn't really like an official return policy. It's more of a situation, as far as I can tell anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more of a situation where they will correspond with you, say they want to return it. You check your policy, make sure it's all within the rights and things like that. And then I sent her my address. She sent me back the tracking number. I always tell people to send that tracking number to me because that covers them as much as me. I don't want it going missing in the mail and them thinking that I received it but decided not to say anything. Like that's not good business practice in any way, and it's not fair, let's be honest. So as I was saying, on Etsy, just make sure you always tell your buyer to get that tracking number and to send it to you so you can both be kept in the loop on that return. Okay, this item was really just one of those where it was somebody who did not like their item, and they wanted to return it, and so they kind of used whatever they could. They said that it was too worn, I think they said, and then I think at some point they may have said that it like didn't measure right. It was just a lot of different issues. And eventually Poshmark ruled in my favor on this particular one. But again, it's having those photographs, right? I have photographs in, you can see like different sort of lighting, different angles, all sides. I had my measurements in there as well. I have my sizing tag, my fabric tag, all of those different things. So I'm not sure if I had something down here. I always put this is my disclaimer. I always make sure people know that it's pre-owned condition. I always make sure they know that there's occasional signs of normal wear that could be present, and to see photos for condition details, because I want them to know that these are used shorts. I want everybody, I would rather under promise and over deliver, as you were. So yeah, that's this particular one. Like I said, Poshmark ruled in my favor because there's nothing here that would show an immense amount of wear. The shorts were fine, but it's still a little hair raising when people do that. You know, it can definitely kind of get your goat, I suppose. All right, and then this last one I'm going to show you from Poshmark is it got lost in the mail. It just never turned up for this particular person. And when it comes to Poshmark, there's several things you can do. So sometimes my USPS pickup lady will not scan my items in. Sometimes she's fantastic and sometimes she just doesn't get to them, I guess, and sometimes she doesn't get to them at all. And 3 or 4 days into it, I'll get a notification from Poshmark saying, hey, don't forget to send this thing, and I'm like, I already sent it. So when that happens, you can actually go into the listing, like the sale as it were, and you can click problems, an inquiry, I think is what it says, and then you can actually put in there sent but not tracking. And I always mark that when I've realized that's happened. And I don't think yet, touch wood, that I have ever had an item make it to its destination without being scanned in at the end, like towards the end. And at that point, everybody can kind of see that you've sent it on time because it's made it there, right? But it does at least cover you, and you've sort of reached out to Poshmark in some way and said, hey, it's on its way. I don't know what's happened. They didn't scan it in. It happens, unfortunately, from time to time. This particular item did not make it in any capacity. And so the person had, or it was either that or maybe it said delivered and they didn't have it. It was one or the other. But anyway, what I want to say was that Poshmark stood behind both of us in this. Again, I said this before, and I know that not everyone has the same experience, but I really like Poshmark for their customer service. I find them to be incredibly fair when it comes to dealing with these cases being opened, and I also really like the format that it's everybody can add a photo, everybody can have their correspondence, you can step back if you want to and just let Poshmark take over. I really find that so much more refreshing as a seller than something like eBay, where really you're kind of on your own, and when eBay steps in, it's sort of like the last ditch effort because your confidence is incredibly low, at least for me, that eBay will side with me. And Etsy, you're pretty much completely on your own as far as I can tell. So I'm really, really favor eBay with that, with Poshmark with that. So I would say that if you're worried about dealing with customers, or you're just inexperienced and you're wanting to kind of get your toes wet or whatever in the reselling stuff, I would start with Poshmark. It's easy to list. It's very, very transparent in terms of fees, and the customer service and the way that they deal with problems between customers and between buyers and sellers, I find are just really, really clear cut and for the most part, very, very fair. So that's my 2 cents on that. Anyway, this is the part of the video where I invite you to put your weirdest sale gone wrong down in the comments and let me know how you resolve that. I really enjoy reading those because that is where I sort of learn how to deal with my own things. You know, Facebook groups and stuff are really fantastic for that because you can ask other people, you know, their advice or their experience and their insight and know how to handle it before you go back to your buyer. Speaking of which, if you're looking for a very friendly, informative Facebook group, then do think about checking out Thrift Nice. There's a link down below in the description. That's the Facebook group that kind of goes along with this channel, and it's super friendly, and you can come and ask your newbie questions or share your experience or just get to know other resellers if you want to. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here and you like thrifty content, especially like yard sale with me's and shop with thrift with bees and things like that, then please do think about hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification and coming back and hanging out some more. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, you guys.